Are you looking to get on the road to your dream career? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Mentor Select Podcast with your host, Derek Phillips. Always stay up to date on social media at Mentor Select and online at mentorselect.com. Here's your host of the Mentor Select Podcast, Derek Phillips.
Welcome to episode 51 of the Mentor Select Podcast. That's right. We crossed that 50 episode barrier last week, and we're just going to keep rolling and providing you with quality mentorship from guest mentors. And just to reiterate, the whole purpose of the Mentor Select Podcast is to provide those who need mentorship, whether it's personal or professional, giving them that resource, because not everyone has access to quality mentors. That was just the whole inspiration behind the Mentor Select Podcast. And especially for me, I'm really passionate about empowering disadvantaged youth, kids growing up in poverty. As someone who grew up in poverty, I know that there were limited mentors that I had access to. So even for kids like that growing up now, I just want to make sure they have that resource available to them. And in addition to that, I know that it's adults who are looking for career guidance, who don't know which direction to go. So by me interviewing people who love what they do, who are truly passionate and know that the work they're doing is making a difference, by them sharing their stories and giving guidance, I feel that that can help the people in that category as well. You're in for a real treat today. Our guest mentor is Gaurav Shaker, who is the Senior Lecturer and Program Manager at UT Dallas for the Master of Information Systems degree program, which is one of the largest programs of its kind in the United States, maybe even in the world. Also, Gaurav was recently elected as the Toastmasters District 50 Director. And District 50 includes Dallas-Fort Worth, Shreveport, also Oklahoma City. They have over 3,800 members. So that's a huge responsibility serving as a district director, where he's in a position to impact lives of so many. And I can speak from firsthand experience. He's been a great friend and mentor to me and has had a significant impact on my professional development. Well, I can go on and on about Gaurav's accomplishments and accolades, but I'm going to get to the interview and let him tell you his story. Today we have Gaurav on the Mentor Select Podcast. Welcome, Gaurav.
Thank you so much, Derek, for this opportunity.
It's a pleasure to have you. I was really honored that you took time out of your busy day to share your mentorship with the listeners. Really happy about that.
Oh, absolutely. It's a pleasure. And, I've been seeing your podcast. I've been hearing it, and I know a lot of very illustrious people who have done so well in their lives. They come and talk about their experiences. So I'm the one who's really, really honored to be a part of this wonderful set of people who talk about their journeys. And thanks so much for what you're doing, Derek. I mean, first of all, congratulations on your new book, Poverty Powerball. I was fortunate enough to be a beta reader for you, and it's a fantastic book. Fantastic book.
I really
Great work,
appreciate
Derek.
it. Thank you. And that's really what it's all about, as far as talking to people who are successful and love what they do and making an impact, and just sharing their experience and mentorship with the listeners to keep that pattern going and encourage them that they can do the same. So it's great. So Gaurav, on Mentor Select Podcast, we really like to get to know our guest mentors better. So would you mind sharing something with us that most people don't know about you?
What people don't know about me? Well, in my little world, I am the greatest bathroom singer in the world. That is one thing that I feel it's a title I've given myself, because I don't know how I sound to other people, but to myself, I sound amazing. But what I do for a living, I am a senior lecturer and the program manager of the Graduate Information Systems program at the University of Texas at Dallas. That is something I am very passionate about, and that was something that I feel has been my calling for several years before I was able to realize it. I'm also fortunate enough to work with a wonderful organization called Toastmasters International, and I am right now the district director elect come July 1st, and I'm the district director for District 50 of Toastmasters, which is the geography we cover is from the Dallas-Fort Worth area all the way to Shreveport and Oklahoma City on the
Wow.
outside. It's a big district.
Oh.
It had about 3,800 members in that, and wonderful people out there. But these are the two big things I do.
Wow. All right. That gives us a lot to cover. I love it. So let's go back real quick to this bathroom singer title. Is that the only place you sing, or do you do karaoke as well?
Occasionally, of course. I do
Okay.
sing at my church. I do sing at places
Okay.
where some of my friends. We are one of those musicians who create a band every year and disband every year. I would not say that there is any other wishy-washy band like us, but it's like the same. We're all working
Wishy-washy.
professionals, and with us,
Okay.
music is really close to our heart. But just because of our work, we're not. In the past, we were not able to give a lot of time to that. But then we
Yeah.
realized one thing, that you know what, if we don't let our passions get our time, nobody will be able to give time to our passions, and we have to do that. And that is what has kind of become the DNA of the way we all are growing professionally in our own spaces. Because
Okay.
you know, if there is something you're passionate about, there is no way that you should not be putting time to it. I would say on a daily basis, because this is something that makes you happy. This is something that
Right.
makes you feel good about yourself. And this is also a way to give back to the society. So if you feel you're good at
Right.
it, never ever put it off to the future saying that, you know, when I have time, we'll do it. And the best part about time is you never have it enough.
Exactly. There's
So
always something that comes up.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Love that. So, Gaurav, where did you grow up?
So I grew up in the city of New Delhi in India.
Okay.
That is where I've been for most of my initial years. I did my schooling there. I went to my undergraduate college there. And in India, I mean, the two favorite professions that people get into is either being an engineer or a doctor. So,
Right.
I mean, I don't say that I did not have enough options, but I was inclined to it. And I
Okay.
completed my bachelor's in technology. I worked with several corporates after that, worked with Ericsson, worked with Capgemini. And these companies also gave me a good opportunity to go around and travel to different places and work with different clients around the world. And that was something I just loved. And just as I said a few minutes ago, that, you know, what you're passionate about and what you want, you keep putting it off to the
Yeah.
future. I was passionate about pursuing higher education, which I
Okay.
successfully put forward in the future for 4 years. Before one day, when I was at a party, where we were seeing off a friend who was going to the US to pursue his higher education, that was the light bulb moment. I'm like, cannot just not do it. And that's when I started looking for prospective colleges, researching curriculums. You know, it's a process before you can start school. But
Right.
it was in spring of 2015 that I came down to UT Dallas to pursue my graduate studies. And I was part of Toastmasters from India. So one common thing that was there between India and US for me was Toastmasters.
Okay.
And
Wow.
this is, you know, this is something that a lot of people don't know. But 2 months before I was coming to US and in District 50, you know, which I'm part of right now, we invited Mr. Jim Key all the way to India to speak at our conference, and had no clue that he was like right down the road from UT Dallas, where he used to work. And the first thing that I did after coming to the US was not to enroll for classes, but join his home club. Because the other activity, and which I feel has been my childhood passion, has been public speaking. You know, somehow
Okay.
my parents got me introduced to, you know, doing debates, declamations, poetry recitation, you know, public speaking on the stage. And I used to love it so much that it has been something that I've been passionately pursuing forever. So joining Toastmasters was definitely a good way of expanding my network and meeting new and like-minded people who are also looking to polish their public speaking skills. But I mean, that's how I transferred from India to US. And after pursuing my graduate education at UTD, I went back to the industry, worked a bit for AT&T as a program manager. One thing that happened right after a few months after graduation was that there was an opportunity to teach at UTD. And I would come back as an adjunct once a week, teach my class. And I used to like it a lot. That suddenly became my happy place. But this is where Toastmasters also came into picture. UTD was not the first time I was teaching in a classroom. We have something called the Toastmasters Leadership Institute, TLIs.
Okay. Yeah.
And while I was a student at UTD and I was also an area director for Toastmasters, I used to get pulled into teaching at TLIs. And what we do at TLIs is we teach our club officers from the different clubs that come together, and we take sessions as to what are the resources that they need to know to be successful in their roles at their clubs. And that was one place where I really tasted blood with teaching. I used to love it. Any opportunity that was there to teach at the TLIs, I would grab it. I mean, even if it meant traveling all the way to Shreveport and doing it for like 3 hours and coming back, I would not deny it. And I think that really got me started in, liking the whole, the teaching thing. And when UTD happened, I just saw an opportunity there. I was like, you know what, probably this is what my calling is, because, with students, the best thing is when you work with students, that there's a class of 50 and they are successful in their own ways. There are 50 successes that you're becoming a part of in one time. I had a great job in the industry, no complaints about it. But there, my successes were my personal successes. Whatever I did was just for myself. Here, I extrapolated it with the students. And that is where I felt that, maybe this is my calling, working with students and helping them become successful in their ventures. And finally, when I joined UTD full-time, I was not only teaching, but also managing the graduate program that I was one student of.
Okay, full circle.
That was a full circle. And now that it was no longer a class of 50, 60 students, it was a program with more than 800 students in it.
Oh, wow.
And we are one of the largest graduate information systems programs in the world. So that suddenly opened a giant waterfall of opportunities for me, working with students, and what I felt was my calling. So I would say it was not something that I had thought of, that, I would end up doing this. But one thing that and this is what Steve Jobs also said, you can always connect the dots backwards, not forward. And I believe in that. But I also believe in one thing, that when life tries to show you that door of opportunity, don't question it much. Because if you like doing it, your gut will tell you that go ahead and do it. Listen to that feeling. There might be a little challenges in settling down or making your mark there, but this is something which will help you sleep better because you like doing this.
Yeah.
So I just feel it's just a series of things that happened over several years that got me from where I was to where I am. And of course, there's a long way still to go, but I'm content that I'm on this path.
Absolutely. And it's great when you actually, in your calling, other people they feel that, they sense it. And I've had the pleasure of meeting about 2 years ago through Toastmasters, and there was no doubt in my mind that you were certainly doing what you were born to do. It's the energy you give off, and you're just always happy and just energized doing what you're doing and impacting so many lives. So that's incredible.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I think it's important to go back to where you mentioned about the light bulb moment, where I believe you said it was a fellow classmate or someone in India who was going to the US, and that kind of gave you that confidence or just the idea like, hey, I can do it too. Can you talk to us more about that?
Sure. So again, I always wanted to study more. I didn't want to stop with what I had, because education is important. And, we don't get into degree programs just because it gets us a better job. A degree program is a great experience through which you learn essential skills of keeping yourself relevant with times in the spheres that you're working for. So that was important for me to up my skill set. One thing that people don't realize is that once you get a skill, every skill is a perishable skill if you're not working on it. And,
absolutely.
The cycle of learning, unlearning, and relearning is very important. Because times change, people change. How can your skills still stay the same? So you have to constantly contemplate whether what you know and what you are pursuing, is it the right thing to do, or you need to polish it better, or add on something. So when talking about my light bulb moment with higher education, I wanted to do something. I was looking at a few options like an MBA or maybe a master's program. But what was more appealing about that one night was the fact that somebody is doing it while I'm still contemplating it. And I think that hit me really hard that day, that this is what that needs to be done. At this point, I have to make a decision and go for it. I was coming into this program. I mean, the program that is my bread and butter now. I knew some things about it, but I was ready to take that risk. And passions can only get the flight that you want if you're ready to take risks. I'm not saying that you just throw everything in the air and let it settle down the way it is. But you need to have some risks which are calculated. There have to be some risks that are, you have no clue about, and you will figure it out as you go on. Now, some of the challenges that I had was, again, education in the US, leaving a full-time job, a job which was really good. And in fact, one thing that I did not mention is I was working for Capgemini at that point of time, and I was working with a British client, which meant that I had spent some time in the UK as well, working with the client on site. And this was a long-term assignment after that. And one thing that I had my employers always tell me was that I'm good with people. And this was a reinforcement of things that, you know what, you can get things done. And I feel as individuals, as human beings, we need that kind of affirmation from time to time. It helped me build my confidence about that, you know what, maybe I'm good with people, and something that requires that human touch, that people connection is something I would be good at. Because again, when you're working, you're still trying to figure out what exactly you're good at. And it takes several years before you figure that out. I had people to tell me that how there used to be times where, the client wasn't really happy about stuff. And now that perception has totally changed with me being there. And that's why they want me to be there even longer. So in one hand, I had a very high paying job on site in the UK, one of my favorite countries. It's a beautiful place to go there, work for a long period of time versus pursuing my master's. And when this light bulb moment happened, I was like, this is the risk I have to take, because if I don't come out of my comfort zone that I've built and a very well settled career to take that risk, I think it will never happen.
Right. You have those regrets.
And that is where I had to tell my employer that I cannot I cannot accept this offer that they have for me. And rather than that, I will go and pursue my higher education. And again, it's expensive, to go to school full time. You're leaving. First of all, you're stopping your source of income.
Right.
Okay. And then you're spending all this money to get into a degree program. So there were a lot of uncertainties about how will I fund it? What are the avenues? But, one thing that really happens is if you have the will and you set on a path, things open up. Things will just unfold in front of you as you go. You have to be systematic. Of course, you just cannot say that, okay, I'm making this decision and I'll just leave it to fate. You have to be systematic about it. But opportunities open up. And let me tell you, any industry, any country, any place in the world is filled with opportunities. At some places, those opportunities are more visible than the other places, but nevertheless, they're still there. So about how bamboo plants are planted?
No, not really.
So let me talk about this. So bamboo, what a bamboo plant looks like.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Really, really strong.
The process is when you plant a bamboo seed, for the first 5 years, nothing comes out of the ground.
Wow.
And then at one time when they really shoot out of the ground, it grows at an exponential rate, several feet in 24 hours. That's how you will see it.
Wow.
But just because in the first 5 years, nothing comes out of it doesn't mean that it is a wasteful seed to plant.
Yeah.
And this is what I feel that a lot of us are not very comfortable in realizing. But sometimes when things are not really showing results, it doesn't mean that everything that we are doing is wasteful. Maybe it just requires that time to germinate and show results at the right time.
Right.
Okay.
I think because we live in like an instant society where everybody wants that overnight success or things that happen instantaneously. It doesn't really work that way.
It cannot. In fact, this is one example I use a lot in my trainings for Toastmasters. A kid comes out in 9 months from the mother's womb.
Yep.
Right? That's the fact. But just by adding more resources, you cannot make it come out sooner. It's not like that, okay, let's get 9 women together and we'll do this kid in 1 month. Doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So we have to realize one thing, that things take time. It will have to realize a certain amount of time, and then only will it start showing results. And that is, I feel, is a big deterrent for people to pursue their dreams, because they don't see immediate success. They feel what they're doing is wrong. We have to know one thing. We cannot, first of all, dream others' dreams. Period.
Yeah.
Okay, I cannot be Bill Gates. I cannot be Jeff Bezos. I cannot be Michael Jackson, because Bill Gates was Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos is Jeff Bezos, and Michael Jackson was Michael Jackson. I can be the first.
You have your own gifts.
Yeah, I don't want to be the second Bill Gates, but I want to be the first Gaurav.
Yeah.
And that is applicable to everybody who's out there. Just because, and I work with students here a lot, and one of the things that I hear is, my friend is doing this thing, I think I should do it as well. And I tell them that, you know what, maybe your friend is skilled differently, you are gifted differently.
Right.
There could be an overlap in your paths, but it cannot be the same. So I feel, again, we were talking about the light bulb moment, and I may have digressed a bit, but
no, it's all applicable.
Sometimes we see the light bulb, sometimes we don't. But the light bulb is always glowing, always on. Think about it this way, Derek. The light bulb is in front of you. The one way I cannot see it is by closing my eyes. So should I blame the light bulb for not being there? The light bulb was there. I just shut my eyes.
Right. Yep. Chose not to see it.
Yeah. And one thing that I really want to tell people here is, light bulbs are there. And light bulbs, in most of the cases, they're people. They're people around you. Your family, your friends, your supporters, your advisors. Everybody is there who's holding a light bulb for you.
Right. I love that. And going back to, I like the way you put, as far as you realize someone else was taking action, doing something while you were still contemplating it. Mm-hmm. I think that's so important, because we can spend a lot of time and get caught up in the paralysis analysis and just thinking about dreaming about doing something. But you decided, hey, I see someone else is taking action. Enough thinking, I'm just not going to be able to figure out everything by just planning it out. I need to take action and actually do it. Mm-hmm. That's so important.
Oh, yeah. And there's one more thing to it. See, sometimes we have the plan in front of us. Okay. We put deadlines on it. But is this plan an aggressive plan, a relaxed plan, or is somebody else who's putting in more effort and doing the same things in half the time?
Right.
That's also important, right?
Big time. Yeah, have to factor all of that in.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Now, tell us, how did your journey begin with Toastmasters?
So this was, I think, 2012. I was still working with Ericsson. One of my mentors in Ericsson, who was also a vice president of the company, he now heads PayPal in India.
Wow.
So he and I used to have a lot of chat about stuff. I was on a team called the Location Strategy Team. So I used to work on affinity groups at the location. I was in Bangalore. So for Ericsson Bangalore, what are the kind of things we want to put together for employees, and what are the initiatives we would take? I was always up for such things. So I was part of that. And that's how I got to meet this person. And he just brought this to me one day. He said, hey, by the way, I think we should start a Toastmasters group here. And my first reaction was, why do we need to start a drinking organization in here?
Happy hour.
Yeah, happy hour. I'm like, okay. But no, then he told me about this thing with Toastmasters. And I got interested. But that was about the same time I was moving from Ericsson to Capgemini. And one thing that I found during the orientation was, hey, we have a very active Toastmasters group here that meets on campus. And the first thing I did was in the first week, whenever they were meeting, showed up at their meeting, and just to see what they do. Now, do remember, I've been speaking on the stage since the age of 5.
Wow.
So throughout my schooling, public speaking, that was my brand in school. But over several years, I did not get opportunities to go on and speak on stage. And that kind of, as I was saying, skills are perishable. I could see that in myself. So much so for a person who has spent more than 20 years, a good 18, 20 years in public speaking. And I go to this Toastmasters meeting and they talk about table topics. And the one thing I made sure was I was not in the line of sight of the Toastmasters because I could not go up there and tell them that, hey, I can speak. And it's not like that the topics were difficult, but that was just something that I was not ready to do. And there was another light bulb that this is something that I was passionate about, but I'm not good at it as of now. I need to invest time and make it my forte again. And that is how I got started with Toastmasters in Bangalore. And, in a few months, I became a VP of membership in the club and talking to other folks in the company about Toastmasters. I had about 15,000 employees in the building I was in.
Wow.
So this was so good.
Big company.
It was a big company, yeah. And it was so good for me to just go around and talk to different teams. It could be 15 people, 30 people, 40, 50, 100. And slowly, I saw myself get back into speaking regularly in front of audiences that I didn't know who they were.
Okay.
So much so that our learning and development team, they scrapped their soft skills training program and they let Toastmasters do that for a lot of different verticals. I feel that was a success for us because they could see the value that we were able to make. But one of the best things that I liked about Toastmasters was it was not only within my company that I was talking to people, but slowly I got involved with the district. And we have these meetings called demonstration meetings, where you go out and tell a new set of people about Toastmasters so that if they're interested, they open a club. And I was regularly featuring as a speaker in these meetings and talking about what Toastmasters can do. Wow. And I could see that, suddenly I was able to develop a huge network of people who were very like-minded, who were professionally doing what I was doing, and they all wanted to be better public speakers. And that was like a gift of knowing people, so many people. So I made it a point that, for me, Toastmasters is now a lifelong commitment because it is just not about public speaking and leadership, but it is about so many things beyond that. When I came to District 50 in the spring of 2015, I joined the clubs here. I was competing. I went all the way to the division level as well. But another light bulb happened in one of those events. So I was at a district event. It was a speech contest. And our Lieutenant Governor of Marketing, which is now called the Club Road Director, was Ed Meisner.
Yep, I know Ed.
And Senior 3 in the district are like the top 3 officials of Toastmasters for the district.
Right.
And what I saw Ed Meisner doing at the end of the meeting was using Kleenex to wipe off the desks where food was served and taking trash out. And that is when I felt that somebody who's this senior in the organization is actually taking trash out. Does it really suit the position that he is into? But rather than criticizing that, what I felt was, probably this is what servant leadership looks like.
Absolutely.
And from that point, the next thing I did was show my interest to serve in capacities I can. I was told about area directorship. And ever since then, I've been a district officer, which means that the primary reason why I joined Toastmasters to become a public speaker, but at the same time compete, because I used to compete a lot at school and I was missing that competition.
Right.
I took that out of the equation. I felt serving people, again, is more gratifying than just serving myself, becoming a better. Of course, I can work on my public speaking skills by serving people and speaking in front of them. I may not be eligible to compete as far as I'm a district officer, but as I said, I could see more impact in what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that I would say a major light bulb moment in my journey that I felt changed my life in several ways. It got me introduced to a lot of wonderful people. It got me introduced to you. And just the fact that, you're able to make somebody's day, just the fact that you're able to help them achieve their professional goals somewhere. Or just being that person who's there for anything. Like, I don't care that whether it is public speaking or it could be a personal or a professional issue. I feel that people understand that in the district that I can hear them. They can talk to me about it. And I'm just saying that with all this, the amount of gratification I'm getting, it's way beyond what I could have imagined. I mean, now it's not only Toastmasters, but the members, I'm able to help them, some of them, sometimes connect them professionally to some connections I know. Or maybe somebody has had a personal issue and, just doesn't know what resources can be used to get away from it, and, helping them in small little ways. I mean, again, you don't have to be a superhero all the time. Just helping them in little ways can be something that makes you smile. And as I say, with my work at Toastmasters and an equal number of opportunities at UTD, I sleep much better.
I bet. I'm sure you wake up excited and energized, ready to do it all over again. That's so great. And Toastmasters is such a remarkable organization, and people that know about Toastmasters, they think about it. Okay, it helps you improve your public speaking, and that's why I joined, because I had a fear of public speaking. I wasn't comfortable doing it. So Toastmasters, it delivered on that first promise as far as helping me find my voice, but also a lot of times people don't realize that Toastmasters has just that leadership track as well. There's so many phenomenal servant leaders within the organization. It's just phenomenal. So taking on those leadership roles within Toastmasters is going to make a person a better employee, a better entrepreneur, a better spouse, as parent. It's just really amazing. And Toastmasters always have a spot in my heart, because prior to joining Toastmasters, I was stuck in a cubicle doing cybersecurity, something that wasn't my passion, wasn't my calling. But Toastmasters truly gave me the courage and to know that, hey, I really can follow my passions, and I can get more fulfillment out of serving other people. So it wasn't really about the money anymore for me. So yeah, it's a great organization, and now you're the leader of District 50. So you've already impacted so many lives, and I can only imagine how many more you're going to impact. And like I said, eventually I know you're going to make it be the international president, and you're looking forward to that. It's really great.
I like your confidence. And thank you for the faith.
I have faith. It's just true. Like I said, you're what we call walking in your purpose. You're truly doing what you're born to do. So that's fantastic. So with the podcast too, we focus on mentorship and acknowledging people who help us get to the point where we are. Who are some mentors that kind of helped you get to where you are today? What role has they played in your career?
There are a lot of people that I would like to thank who helped me with. Of course, my biggest mentors are my parents. My father and my mother, both of them they have had an illustrious career. Both of them are still working. Thank God about that. But
nice.
At a stage when they could have worked on their own personal goals, they chose to spend the time on me and my sister and make our lives better. So I owe it the most to them. But on the way, I found a lot of mentors in District 50 Toastmasters, a lot of them, Jim Key, Monica Rose, Ed Meisner, Sonia Wen, Hugh Dawson, Manhel Shukir, Monica Durden, Christy Peterson. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people and who I would like to thank for this. And again, all of them, they're friends, they're like family, and they're great mentors. They're people who keep my head in check, that they make sure that everything's there. A lot of great mentors from India who helped me with this. So Mr. Nagaraj Rao, who served as the international director for Toastmasters 2 years ago, is a big mentor there. Mr. Jim Coley, who was also on the board until last year, was another one. All my teachers from school, all of them I would like to thank. They just made sure that, when I was still a soft dough, and I'm really thankful to everything. My school, I went to Delhi Public School, and I feel that was a big factor into making me what I am. My parents had the intent to do it, but I'm sure that my school really, really coupled well with what they wanted to do with me, and they were made able to make it possible. And of course, I've got lots of friends. My constant support, Don Owens, She is my, best friend, and she's my biggest support, my mentor, and she's like my
Awesome.
sounding board for my ideas. So she makes sure that gives me good feedback. But a lot of people, you, Derek, I've followed your journey for quite some time now, and you are inspirational. So I would say of all these names that I took so far, plus every member of District 50, every member that here at UTD that I have had the chance to work with, all these people in some or the other way have been my teachers. And I'm so thankful to them about it.
Love it. And what that highlights is like no one makes it alone. It takes a community. It takes mentorship is just so important for those people who may not have supportive family or friends. You still always can find someone who's going to encourage you and support you. Just got to seek those people out and join, whether you join organizations or through your school. But yeah, don't try to do it alone. We really all need that support, mentorship, encouragement, and like I mentioned earlier, validation. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. Yes.
So Gaurav, as we get ready to wrap up this interview, you've given us a lot of great advice and just sharing your inspirational story with us. What would be some parting words of advice that you would want to leave the listeners with?
We all are very fortunate. We all. And when I say we all, I mean everybody. We get our share of fortune in different ways. Sometimes we get it quickly, sometimes it takes time, but we eventually get it. I feel that if you have ever felt that somebody helped you, the best way to thank that person for the help is by passing that help to somebody else.
Yep.
Making sure that this chain is never broken. This idea of helping others never stops. Today you are at the receiving end of that help. Tomorrow, a lot of people can get that help from you. And there is no demarcation of race, color, ethnicity, place of origin, culture that can stop you from helping people. Help has no face. Help is help.
Right.
So let your help, let your assistance be something that you give as a gift back. And that's, I think, the best way of thanking somebody for all the support that you have received. And, this is a great place. The world is a great place. It is filled with people who will teach you on a daily basis. It's filled with people who give you opportunities. At the same time, when you see that something's not working out, maybe that's a challenge that time is just putting in front of you to help you realize your potential. A kite never soars if it flies in the direction of the wind. It always has to do against it. Okay. And, Manoj Vasudevan, the 2017 world champion of public speaking, he talked about how when life is pulling you back, it's probably launching you to greater heights. So when you're feeling that pressure, just remember that you have to stay calm. You have to make sure that, things are in place, and you need to have that faith. See, faith can move mountains. Okay?
Absolutely.
And having that faith in yourself is the first thing. We thank God for everything that He has done. But one thing that probably He expects is that you have faith in yourself.
Yeah.
And you cannot have people become your fans if you are not a fan of yourself. Now, I'm not talking about being narcissistic about yourself, but you need to know that what you are doing, you have to like it. Because see, the way you feel about yourself is what you transpire to others. If you feel happy about yourself, you will transpire that happiness to other people. If you feel sad about yourself, what you give to others is sadness. So if you want to do something good with others, you need to put that in you first. Walk the talk kind of a concept here.
So great advice. Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. So Gaurav, how can listeners get in contact with you?
I am very approachable over the email and phone, but if they want to send me an email and set up some meeting, I am more than happy to do that. My email address is my first name, last name, which is Gaurav Shekhar. It's GAURAVSHEKHAR2003@gmail.com. And I'll be more than happy to set up some time aside and talk over the phone or visit you in person. I look forward to connecting with all the listeners.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, we really appreciate you, Gaurav, for giving us a lot of great insight and just, like I said, sharing your inspirational story. And yeah, you're doing great things, and you're just getting started. You're going to do a lot more. So I'm certainly looking forward to see your continued growth and also benefit from your leadership. You inspire me. You've been giving me a lot of great guidance. So I appreciate it. And now the listeners appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm very honored by this opportunity of talking to you today and talking to the listeners of this wonderful podcast. And I'm always open to serve people. So please never feel shy in reaching out to me. And again, thank you so much for this, Derek.
Well, there you have it. Another phenomenal interview from our guest mentor, Gaurav Shaker. He really gave us a lot of valuable advice and just inspiration for him, sharing his life stories, the pitfalls, the ups, the downs, and just really sharing with us how he found what his calling is and how he's walking in his purpose. I can't thank Gaurav enough for all that he does for District 50, for the students at UT Dallas, and just all of his family and friends. He's a remarkable person. I've had the opportunity to know him for a couple of years now, and he's the real deal. He's the ultimate servant leader. So really appreciate Gaurav. Be sure to reach out to him. He's really sincere about saying that he's available. He's willing to talk to you and help you out in whatever way you need in terms of mentorship, encouragement. He's there. That's what he loves doing. So be sure to take him up on that, and also let him know what resonated with you about this interview. Be sure to tune in next week. We'll be back with another phenomenal guest mentor.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Mentor Select podcast, helping you identify and follow your passions. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit mentorselect.com and Mentor Select on social media. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review. We'll catch you next time.